listen. Mostly American, but we've got people from all over the world that listen to this. When I look at the breakdown of where everybody's coming from, it's quite amazing, actually. We've got people from New Zealand, Australia, UK,
you need more
all over.
practice.
I actually, one from Japan. We've got Canadians, Americans.
My move was
Those
most
are the main
illogical.
countries. Anyway, warning to U.S. on terrorist threat from Canada. Now, if you are American and you tend to think that we Canadians are friendly people and mean you no harm, well, you'd be wrong. Now, most Canadians mean you no harm, absolutely. But Trudeau is letting in former ISIS fighters, because they need to be rehabilitated and, they trust them. He says, oh, Canada, we have confidence in them. Well, now we've got all sorts of things happening here in Canada that have never happened before, as you would imagine. So, yes, there is a huge threat from Canada, and I don't think people really realize it, because I don't think they understand how bad it's really gotten here. Now, where I am, I'm kind of in a reprieve here, because I'm kind of not in a real hugely populated area. But I'm about 2 hours from Toronto, about 2 hours from Ottawa. And those are areas, those are hot spots. So, let's get into this. Security experts here warn that by welcoming radical Islamists, and they definitely are welcoming them, open arms, paying for everything, Canada now presents a danger to the United States. And it does. It really, truly does. The U.S. and Canada share the longest undefended border in the world. There hasn't been a reason to defend it because there hasn't been a serious threat from either country in a couple hundred years. There is now. Canada is today the happy home of thousands of radical Islamists, ex-ISIS fighters, and the Muslim Brotherhood. Their numbers continue to grow, with Islamists infiltrating the Canadian government on several levels. Yes, this is true. Many Americans assume that all is peaceful and well with their northern neighbor, but security experts here warn that by welcoming radical Islamists, Canada now presents a danger to the United States. Canada as an aircraft carrier for Muslim terrorists to attack America. Terrorism expert David Harris, who works for Canada's spy agency, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, told us a major attack on the United States by Muslim extremists based in Canada is only a matter of time. Many years ago, I suggested that many of the Islamist extremists might regard Canada as an aircraft carrier from which to maintain operations against the United States, Harris said. Thomas Quiggin, the author of Submission, The Danger of Political Islam in Canada, with a warning to America, believes Canada is becoming a foundational sort of place for Islamists and all stripes, including the Iranians, by the way. Quiggin says Canada is in denial over the terror threat it has created for itself and its neighbor to the south, and the denier-in-chief seems to be Prime Minister Trudeau. Well, he's the one that's inviting them all in and paying for everything, by the way. Oh, yes, there's a bunch of them holed up in Toronto in hotel suites that we, the taxpayers, are paying for. Yes, I pay taxes in both countries. So, yeah, that enrages me. It enrages me because they have a facility for them, which is kind of like a same sort of facilities that they have in the States to keep them there until they're vetted, properly vetted, and so forth. Well, we have that in Canada, and it's all set up. But no, we brought them, and we pay everything. And these hotels that they're staying in are not even livable anymore. So they're destroying it. Well, why shouldn't they? It's all for free. Why would they have any respect for somebody else's property? Everything's being paid for. Everything. While our vets and our homeless, there are seniors here, and I know this for a fact, that have to decide whether they're going to eat or whether they're going to heat their homes, because it's called hydro here. We don't call it power because it's hydroelectric power that we have, and You know, it's so expensive. It is so expensive. I moved from a house because it was costing me almost $1,000 just to heat it, which was more than I was paying for anything else. So, unbelievable. Yes, there are seniors here that are literally having to decide, do I eat or do I pay for hydro? And yet, Canada paves the way for all the former ISIS fighters. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people upset here, but we have no recourse. There's no recourse. You can't even, if somebody commits a crime and they're Muslim, they're not allowed to say that in the news at all. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go on. Kumbaya. Prime Minister Trudeau actually said in our parliament that if you are opposed to ISIS fighters returning to Canada, it is because you're Islamophobic. Quiggin said, in other words, it's not them that's the issue, it's your opposing their return that makes you Islamophobic, it makes you a racist. Yes, well, as a Christian woman, and knowing that these ISIS fighters slaughtered Christians by the thousands, yeah, I have a problem with them being here, or in the United States, or anywhere near me. I'm just saying. If that makes me racist, oh well. You know what? Oh well. We're going to be called racist no matter what we do. I've just come to that conclusion. It doesn't matter what you do, you're still racist, according to some people. Anyway, Toronto Sun columnist and XM Sirius Canada host Anthony Fury told us, I think that there's the idea that we need to welcome everyone because everyone's wonderful. So, kumbaya. This notion that ISIS fighters are somehow deserving of that kind of respect and cultural accommodation just as much as anyone else is nonsense. And it is. And it's not surprising because Trudeau shares beliefs with Islamists. Trudeau has sent official greetings to Canada's annual Reviving the Islamic Spirit Convention and personally attended as a member of Parliament in 2012, even after news reports the event was linked to a group that had funded Hamas. Yes, this is the same Prime Minister who gave millions of taxpayer dollars to the Clinton Foundation. Yes, he did. Trudeau told the gathering in his 2015 video greeting, this is also about celebrating our shared beliefs of fairness, equality, opportunity, and acceptance. Oh, are you kidding me? Quiggin asked the Prime Minister, do you know who you're talking to? And why would you say that you share their values when their values are anti-democratic, anti-women's rights, pro-slavery, pro-stoning of women? I mean, the stuff that's on some of their websites here in Canada is startling. There have been lone wolf attacks on the U.S. from Canadian Muslim terrorists since the Quebec-based Millennial Bomber tried to cross the border to blow up LAX in 1999. But the Islamic threat in Canada has been played down, and it has. The Danforth attack, claim of a cover-up. July's attack on the Danforth in Toronto, where 2 women were killed and 13 injured, has been spun by the police and media as a mental health issue on the part of the gunman. Fury accused police of a cover-up, and there was one. There has been a total cone of silence around the Danforth shooting story, Fury said. I wrote a feature where I found out that family statement, which said the suspect, Faisal Hussein, had mental illness had actually been put together by a spin doctor, a self-described spin doctor, who's associated with the NDP, which is one of our, that's the New Democratic Party, Canada's left-wing party, and also a Muslim community activist. Much of Canada's mainstream media seems to stand with the Islamists. The Toronto Star announced it was no longer using the name the Islamic State because something so barbaric could not be Islamic. Well, does that make sense to you? That is the worst flawed logic I have ever heard. Parliament passed the notorious M103 anti-Islamophobia motion last year. Critics call it an attempt by the government to silence any criticism of Islamists in Canada. So, there you go. I'm not going to finish it there, but I do want you to be aware that it's not just your southern border that is an issue anymore. It's the northern border. And I'm telling you, if Canada does not do something about allowing all of these former ISIS fighters into Canada and welcoming them with open arms, and forbidding anybody to say anything about it, then you're going to need another wall on the northern border. So, I don't know. It's not good news. I hope that when Trump finishes straightening out America, that he'll come on up here and straighten us out. That's what I'm hoping. But by that time, I will be back down there, and I will be very glad to be back down there. So, there you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it here because it is getting on in time, and I do have an errand that I have to run in 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and run that errand, and I may come back with more news because there's a lot of it. So anyway, but let's call it a night for that anyway, and we will stop there. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. It's Friday night and you should be enjoying yourself, and hopefully you have the week